everyone. Welcome to another fascinating discussion sponsored by the Unity Church of El Cajon. I'm Susan Jarboe, and with me today are Reverend Linda Burdett, Karen Downey, and Dr. Kristine Pass. Today, as many of you are aware, I will be talking about a reading from our good colleague, Richard Rohr. But first, let's begin with a prayer. Our Heavenly Parent, we gather here today in gratitude for the opportunity to come together as a community of curious minds and open hearts. Thank you for the gift of wisdom, the joy of learning, and the ability to share our perspectives. As we enter this panel discussion, we invite your presence into this space, guiding our words and thoughts. This is a reading from Father Richard Rohr, and many of you know that he is from the Center for Action and Contemplation. And this is a reading from Sunday, May 31st, 2026. So it's a fairly recent essay of his, and it's called Moving Beyond Our Binary Minds. And in this, he highlights the importance of developing an open beginner's mind. The dualistic mind is the one we're all educated into. It's the one that gets us through the day, helping us make important distinctions and necessary judgments, pointing us to the left or right. It is essential for the advent of the scientific, industrial, and now technological revolutions. So we're all grateful for it. It's good and necessary as far as it goes, but let me be clear, it doesn't go far enough. The dualistic mind cannot deal with the biggies: love, death, suffering, God, infinity, and the very notion of grace. To balance what I see as our over-reliance on dualistic thinking, we have to find ways to practice thinking in a different way, where we can receive the moment as an open field. I call it the non-dual or contemplative mind. In that space, we don't have to divide the field or reject anything we don't yet understand as wrong. We don't have to eliminate everything that's mysterious, negative, painful, or problematic. With the contemplative mind, we can leave the field open. This is a major exercise in letting go, because we have to let go of our fear, defensiveness, and expectations. I think that's why so many people don't persevere in meditation practice, daily contemplation, or periods of silence. I do a 20-minute sit in the morning and again later in the day, and to be honest, it usually feels like 20 minutes of dying, 20 minutes of boredom, 20 minutes of not getting my own way. All these compulsive, obsessive, and negative thoughts come into my mind and try to grab my attention. In the beginning, contemplation is simply a practice of living with and looking out from our stable foundation in God, what we might call the inner witness. We have to be willing to see how attracted we are to negative, paranoid, oppositional, and even violent thinking. We start to wonder, where did this come from? Why am I doing this? We must be willing to question, how could this little flimsy mind ever know God? How could it understand or even hold space for the great love or great suffering that enter every human life. It will simply jump to the next thing because the dualistic mind is always moving toward resolution. It loves closure and rushes toward judgment. That's why all great spiritual leaders said, do not judge. To well-educated dualistic thinkers, that just feels irresponsible. We have to make judgments, don't we? Of course we do, especially when it comes to issues of justice and solidarity. But the first lens through which we receive a moment, a person, or a situation has to be non-dual. I have to accept that all parts of reality, that which I think I understand and call good, and that which I don't understand and assume is bad. Sadly, most never go beyond that. Anything that they don't yet understand is presumed to be wrong, dangerous, sinful, heretical, or even to be destroyed. So I'd like to now open this up to the panel and see what thoughts, reactions, comments people may have on what Richard Rohr has written.
Susan, I enjoyed this. There were, oh gosh, there was so much that struck me, but I wrote down notes about two of them. So when Rohr says that his morning sit is like 20 minutes of dying, I had to laugh because sometimes it really does feel that way. All those uninvited thoughts show up acting like they own my brain. So the moment that we start noticing them, that I start noticing them, is the very thing that I know I am there to do. Notice it, let it go, retrain my brain so that it operates differently and I'm not so reactive the next time. And when I can stop being afraid of my own mind and where it's going to go, then I believe that's the moment I've learned to play the game. So the other thing that really stood out to me was what he had to say about judgment, where he asked, don't we have to make judgments? And then declared, of course we do. And I agree. We are alive, and most of us want to stay that way. And so we're required, just by natural law, to make judgments about things every single day. The difference is the kind of judgment. Are we being discerning or are we being reactive? Discernment requires a quiet center, that place that we went to when we were sitting there feeling like we were dying and retraining our brains. And reactive judgment is just fear with a fancy name. So one comes with stillness and the other is clarity. That's where I went to with this. It was just so packed that, gosh, I think that we could sit and talk for a couple of hours on this one little passage. But I'll shut up and find out what the other panelists had to say.
Well, thank you, Kristine. I liked your phrasing, afraid of our own minds. That's a powerful sentence. And then fear with a fancy name. Okay, Karen's up.
Thank you very much, Susan, for reading from excuse me, Richard Rohr. And I loved your comments, Kristine. Discernment. Um, for me, it's like a mind dump. I had to do a mind dump of everything I thought I knew for new information to come in. And it's like that judgment, that right, wrong, anything to me, anything that separates is not of the divine anything that separates. And oh, mercy, I remember so many years, I don't know why this popped into my mind. So many years ago, I must have probably only been maybe 14 years old or something like that. And I was raised Catholic. And there's a lot of shame, guilt, do's, don'ts, the whole thing. But my girlfriend across the street was getting married, and I was forbidden to go because we could not enter another church. That was a sin. And I remember, of course, that wasn't going to stop me. I went in the doors and I stood in the back of the church. So there was still enough of a fear thing, but I went. And oh my goodness, nowadays there's so many things that separate from politics to religions and wars and holy wars. And it's like that stillness, that discernment for me has come in photography and my animals. And when I'm focusing on my mind being clear, is when I'm taking a picture and putting some text on it. I'm not in anybody else's business, judging or separating. I'm out of this critical squirrel cage that goes on between my ears and into my heart. And there is so much beauty in the world when I have my eyes open. And it takes me out of myself and seeing the beauty, the nature, what God has created is beautiful. So that discernment, um, it's so important. Thank you very, very much. So I haven't figured that one out yet. One of these days I might get to visit with him.
Thank you, Karen. I liked your expression, mind dump. Uh, that's a very good phrase. And your story about the wedding was a very powerful story.
Wow. Love the topic. I'm just processing all the wonderful feedback from the panel and wondering what can I add to this topic? And I'm not sure we need to add any more, but I'm going to try anyways. Something happened to me years and years and years ago, probably in the 80s, long, long time ago for some of us, that proved to me that I don't know everything. And I know that sounds ridiculous, how arrogant to think you do. But I got into a situation where I had some judgment. A very dear friend of mine was treating or teaching energy healers. And she asked me to come in and be their guinea pig, right? So they would, hands off, not touching me at all, run their hands in the air and heal my body. Well, I couldn't do it, and I had some judgment on it, but this was a very dear friend, and she was paying pretty good money to go in and lay there and let people do what I thought was woo-woo, just run their hands around, woo, and you're healed, whatever. So I went in and did it. I had 5 different practitioners work on me, and I had a towel covering me, and 3 out of the 5, without touching me or even looking at me, I was under a towel, came up over my tailbone and told me I was leaking energy there. Now, I hadn't told anyone, including the woman who hired me. She had no idea that I actually broke my tailbone when I was about 12, 13 years old, doing something I was not supposed to be doing. So I didn't tell anybody, and it healed a little crooked. And I know it, but unless I tell you, you don't know it, right? So I realized at that time what I had judged to be woo woo, just okay, whatever, was really proof that just because I don't experience life that way or I don't see energy fields doesn't mean everybody does it, sees it the same way I do. And that was a very humbling lesson. It taught me just gobsmacked that I don't know everything. And just because I've never experienced it, I've never seen it, I've never had that circumstance, doesn't mean it isn't valuable and legit and important to another person. So when I am making those judgments, I try and do it from a place of acceptance and humility. I know I don't know everything. From what I know, from my experience, this is what I think is right, but then not attached to the outcome. So I'm not sure if that really added anything great to the topic, but I want to thank you, Susan and Kristine and Karen. Wow, it is an honor to be on this panel with you all. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. And yesterday, I happened to be in a group at our church where we were talking about uh, marginalized persons in our culture and how often various marginalized groups are stereotyped. And what Richard Rohr said when he was talking about judgment, he said the first lens has to be non-dual, that we can't look at a person or a situation and immediately rush to judgment, pulling down what we've got in our minds, that the first lens has to be non-dual. And you may even hold on to that non-duality, for a long time, and we hope so. So judgment has to be reserved. It's not the first choice. And I loved all of the language you all used. You all have a way with words. Well, thank you, panel, for your comments, and thank you, viewers, for listening to this video. If you have any comments about what we've been talking about or what we've been doing, please put them in the comments section at the end of this tape. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you know someone who might benefit from this tape or enjoy this discussion, share it with them. Send them the link. Another thing is that we all come up with our own ideas for these discussions. But if you have an idea about something you'd like us to talk about, I can tell you Reverend Linda is really good at researching various kinds of ideas. We would love to hear from you and discover what's on your minds and what you're thinking about. Please subscribe. If you enjoyed this discussion or any of the others, become a subscriber and you'll be notified when a new discussion is posted. And also, you could join us. Maybe you have one thing that's on your mind and you'd love to talk to people about it. Well, we can incorporate you into a panel discussion. And if you've watched these discussions, you'll notice that sometimes we've only had 3 people. What that means is we have room for more. And so if you enjoy what we do, and if you'd like to be a part of it, we welcome new panelists. So thank you again for joining us. And we hope you'll tune in again. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.